Hey, and welcome to a new episode of Worlds Collide, the podcast where I talk to people who moved abroad. I am your host, Viktoria. Okay, so today, before we really start, I just wanted to mention this intro will be probably like a minute longer, and it has two reasons. And one reason is because I'm recording this right now. It is election day, and I don't know the outcome of the election yet. And most of my listeners are in the United States, and you probably are thinking like, hey, if I don't like the results of this election, I really want to pack my bags and move somewhere else. So if this is the case, there is a small selection of episodes that I focus on in my last Instagram post. Check it out. It is especially made for Americans who moved abroad. So it's like moving to Portugal or checking out Italy, moving to Japan, or like being an English teacher in Chile. So there are the episodes that are listed. Just go on the Instagram page and find that post. It's the one with the 2 passports on it. Okay, now to this week's episode. So my guest is Meg, and she moved around quite a bit, but ended up then in Valencia. And so Valencia was just hit by the flood last week. Have you seen it in the news? There were huge flash floods, and unfortunately over 200 people died. And people are still dealing with this natural disaster. But at least my guest Meg is safe. I reached out to her last week when I saw the news. She is fine and her area was not hit as bad. And yeah, I just wanted to make sure that I mentioned this to you too, because we talk about the great city of Valencia and how she loves it so much. So after a disaster like this, it takes some time to clean up everything. And maybe it even changes. Who knows? But Meg shares her story of her life in Spain and why she loves it so much and what's so great about it. Yeah, I don't want to take away too much of this, but here is the full story. Here is Meg. Okay, so my guest today is Meg. Hey, how are you?
Hi, Victoria. Thank you for having me. I'm great. Thank you.
Oh, good. So tell me, where are you calling from right now?
Right now, I'm in Spain, in Valencia.
In Valencia. Ah, okay. And where are you from originally?
I'm from a very tiny, tiny village close to Parma, which is a city in the northwest of Italy.
Okay, so this is where the ham is from?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay. Because that's famous, right?
It's that and Parmigiano Reggiano. Yes, that's the one.
Okay, good. And so how long have you been in Valencia?
Now I've been here for almost 6 years, which is the
Mm-hmm.
longest I ever been anywhere. But I've been traveling. I left my hometown when I was 19, and then I've been traveling since for about
Mm-hmm.
10 years then. And then I happened to be in Valencia, fell in love, and stayed here. So
Ah, okay. So why was it that you wanted to leave Italy in the first place?
um, I never really felt at home where I grew up. And that's
Mm-hmm.
probably because my dad is from the center of the country and my mom is from Belgium. So completely different
Ah,
mentality,
okay.
different, mindset, different
Right.
habits. And on top of all of that, I grew up in a very, very tiny village where
Right.
people were very um, close-minded somehow because these
Mm-hmm.
tiny villages where they all know each other, and so for me, it always felt too small and too limited somehow.
Mm-hmm.
I used to, travel when I was a kid. I was going to Belgium for summer. I spoke two languages, and people couldn't really understand that. So I always felt a bit, on the outside, and always like I wanted to travel, and no one cared about traveling. So I was like, okay. Um,
Oh, okay.
so yeah, since I was a kid, I wanted to travel, and as soon as I could, I left.
What was your first stop then?
I went as far as I could, so I traveled to Australia.
Okay, all right. With 19,
Yeah.
me too. With 19 to Australia.
Okay. Amazing. Yeah.
Also small town background.
Okay. So we have a lot of things in common. I can
Yeah,
see.
yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. So you went to Australia for a year or?
Yeah. I did the work and holiday visa.
Mm-hmm.
I landed in Melbourne, and it
Mm-hmm.
was such a huge, like, shocking reality because I was basically a kid. 19.
Yeah.
Yes, I was used to my little village and Belgium,
Right.
but it's small cities, small. It's a completely different. And that's when the world opened up to me, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, there is so much more."
Uh-huh.
And that's when I started to travel and travel, and I didn't want to stop. I definitely didn't want to go back. I did go back after Australia, but I moved to another city in
Yeah.
Verona to study fine arts. But yeah, it
Mm-hmm.
was so different, and that was the first shock.
That was like the first time you uh licked some I don't know, big city
Yeah.
freedom.
And it was so far. Yeah, I was so young and so far away and so free, and I was just like, I think I think that was one of the best of my life for sure.
And then why did you decide on moving to Spain then?
That's funny because I never, ever, ever thought I would live in Spain. I was never really interested in Spain.
Yeah.
But then I traveled so I was, moving and traveling different countries, and I lived in Belgium for a couple of years for my master degree.
Okay.
And then from
Mm-hmm.
there, I got a job in Ireland, and I was in Dublin for a couple of years. And that
Uh-huh.
means that I spent about 5 years in the north of Europe, which means gray, rain, cold, and wind.
Yeah, so you wanted the
Yeah,
opposite.
so I was so fed up. I got actually I got quite depressed living in Ireland, and I needed a year of therapy pretty much. Because
Oh
yeah,
no. I mean literally
yeah, no,
or
for sure. Like I had a lot of things going on. Yeah, no,
okay. It was not just the weather.
not just let's say that the weather didn't help. Okay, it was terrible.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But then I was like so fed up, and I was like, I just need the sun. I just need to be in the sun. And so after all of that, kind of calmed down, I went
Uh-huh.
traveling to Portugal and Spain. And while I was traveling in Spain, I came to visit a friend in Valencia. And I fell in love with
Mhm.
Valencia. And I was like, I feel like I want to stay here. And maybe I stay here for a few months to learn Spanish and to enjoy the sun. And then maybe I'll be back traveling to Australia, to Asia. And I actually stayed. So
So how did you just stay? Did you go back and then find a job or did you just move everything and then see how it works
yeah,
out?
I was so I saved from my job in Ireland. So then I was traveling for a few months, for about 6 months, which is what I usually do. Like I work for a year or something, and then travel for 6 months or a year, and all of that. And so I had my stuff at my mom's in Belgium. I decided I
Uh-huh.
want to stay in Valencia, so I got my flight back to Belgium, packed everything, and 5 days later I was here. I just got a flat.
Oh,
I
okay.
just got a flat. I was sharing a room, an apartment with another person,
Uh-huh. Okay.
and then
Oh, so you were had a roommate. You were living in like
yeah,
a roommate
yeah.
situation. Uh-huh.
So I was sharing, and then I just decided that I was going to enjoy the next few months. So I went to school to, study the language, and I was just focusing on my photography. So I started to doing workshops. That's how I started to get clients, and then I got an online job that I lost during COVID. But then I opened my business. So I've been online since I moved here, pretty much, and everything
Okay.
just
What do you do?
so I'm a brand and color consultant. So I help brands create like experiences that are immersive. And I really focus on how color impacts our sensorial perception. And
Uh-huh.
locally, I also do photography, so brand and portrait photography, but also do wellness retreat photography, which is the last thing that I added to travel more.
Okay, right. Okay, so that
Yeah,
helps. You can always like work when you
yes,
travel. Nice.
absolutely.
Yes. And so in 6 years, you said earlier, is the longest that you stayed at some place. But did you ever get like the itch of like moving again?
Yes, I do. I do love traveling, so I do want to move. But at the same time, I really love living here. So instead of traveling for 6 months or a year and then live somewhere for a year and then somewhere else for another couple of years, I'm basically having my base here, and then I just travel for, I
Mhm.
do these retreats now, or just go for 2 weeks here, and small travels, and for now it's working.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Okay. All right. That sounds nice. Okay. So when you first got there, I mean, of course, you traveled, and I feel also still Europe and also Italy is not too crazy different from Spain. But did you had like some cultural differences?
Actually, yes. I thought that Spain and Italy will be pretty similar, and
Mm-hmm.
because we,
That's what I just
yeah,
said,
yeah,
right?
we have this
Yeah.
idea. But then I was surprised when I moved here that they actually are very, very different. Which is why I
Uh-huh.
really like being in Spain, because maybe I also have to take into account that I used to live in a small village, and here I'm in the one of the biggest city in Spain, so it might also have
Uh-huh.
a meaning behind it. But it's true that Spanish people are a lot more open and chill. They're like they have a very
Uh-huh.
more like Italians are quite judgmental in general, and they have quite a
Okay.
negative mindset in general about quite a few things. And the Spanish is quite the opposite, actually. They're in general pretty positive and very, friendly and very open mind, and
Mm-hmm.
they're very innovative when it comes to cultural or society stuff. Like for women, they had gay marriage before most of any other countries. There are
Okay.
so many things here that you don't even have in Italy yet, and it here has been here for like 20
I
years.
see.
So it's
Okay.
quite different. Yeah.
It's funny because it seems they come so far in such a short amount of time. All this like Franco regime is not even too
Yeah.
far.
Yeah.
Too far. What is it? Oh my god, my
Far in the
English.
past. Yeah.
Too far gone. Yeah,
Yeah, it's actually like you can still
yeah.
see it a lot in a lot of things in their daily habits, especially in the buildings. There you can see that it's very
Yeah.
recent. But yeah, like
Mhm.
their mentality, their approach to life, and other people, it's very, yeah, it's completely different than what you would expect, thinking that only how long ago, 34, no, it's probably 50 years ago, Franco's here. So it's yeah, the way they've moved on so quickly is actually quite impressive when you think about it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they wanted the opposite like right away. you
Yeah,
know, they couldn't wait. They had to like, all right, let's do it right now. Everything
yeah,
opposite.
I mean, it could be a response to that. They were so constricted,
Yeah.
and now they went the opposite side, so it makes
Yeah.
sense.
When you moved there, you had one friend there already?
Yes, and yes, it was a friend from Italy, and he moved here many, many years ago. And I really came to visit him after Australia, but I didn't really pay attention to. I was probably too young. So I came to visit him for a couple of days because I had a flight from Valencia, so it was
Uh-huh.
it was all coming together. But I didn't really have him as a friend here because we don't really see each other much because he has his life, his friends. So it
Right.
was we see each other like once a year. It's not we don't have that
Uh-huh.
much time to spend together.
I
Um,
see.
so yeah, it didn't feel like I had someone here. But yeah.
But and so how did you end up making friends? Because it sounds like you just came all by yourself and you had to start all from scratch when it comes to
Yeah,
friendships.
so that's actually a question that people ask a lot, especially as
Uh-huh.
adults. We travel and then we don't know how to make friends. Um, Maybe it's because I've been traveling since ever, and it's always been easy, and I grew up making friends abroad, kind of thing. So it's not just to
Yeah.
my way of doing things. But something that I did is from the beginning that I was here, I went to language exchanges because I wanted to practice my Spanish that was non-existent back then.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but also I started to create these photography workshops because I wanted to practice and I wanted to meet people with the same passion and I wanted to do, photography together. And basically that started to grow a community around me. And I was
Mm-hmm.
organizing so many events, so many activities. We were just sometimes just going out for, a beer or a walk or something. And then,
Sure.
they brought some friends, and then those friends had other friends. And I slowly created a whole community of friends around those events. And
Nice.
so, yeah, like, the community here in Valencia, especially the expat community, is very, very welcoming and very active and very social. So we do a lot of things. It's so easy to connect with people. There are so many activities, and because in Valencia we live outside a lot, there's a huge park, and we do
Yeah.
so many activities. Like we never home. It's really like outside,
Okay.
sunny all year round. It's nice.
Yeah.
It's just easy to go to pretty much any type of events and just meet people and just make friends. So at least that's my experience.
Okay, well, that's great. And so how did you find the expat communities? Is it just like groups online and they post like, "Hey, we're doing this, come along?"
Yeah. So for my photography, I used Meetup. I don't know if you know this
Mhm.
app.
Yeah.
So there are people who share their activities. For me, it was my photography. There are some networking events. We do have yoga classes. So I would go to anything that I was interested in, and and then you make friends.
Mhm.
And and then we also have a few groups on Facebook, expats group, and sometimes people would just share in the group and say, "Hey, I don't know many people. I just moved here. Do you want to go do something together?" And that's it. And then people go. And.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it's very a lot of things happen online. Through online, you'll find people in real. Real life.
Uh-huh. And you just mentioned the language. So when you moved, you didn't speak Spanish?
No.
And how is it now?
Actually, well, I have to admit that I do speak three languages. I spoke three before
Uh-huh.
moving, and Italian is very similar to Spanish. So
Yeah.
I think I was quite fluent within 3 or 4 months because
Oh,
yeah,
oh,
they're very
okay.
similar. So
Because of the similarities. And were you also comfortable?
not at all, but it's like
You get by,
yeah,
yeah.
you have to like you really have to practice. You really have to just throw yourself out there and just make all the mistakes you can make, and then
Right, right.
that's the way you learn. And
Yeah.
that's I started hosting the photo workshops in Spanish when I couldn't even
Ah,
speak
uh-huh.
Spanish. So
Okay.
it was very funny because I was preparing the words that I needed to use before, and I would just like kind of mix.
Yeah.
Um, People understood apparently, so
Were you, like, nervous? I mean, did you not, like, think, "Eh, just do it in English
um,
'cause it's just easier?"
no, because I wanted to learn. Like I'm very stubborn, and if I
Huh?
decide I want to do
Oh,
something,
that's good. Yeah.
I'll just do it. So yeah, I just went with it, and I would say people knew that I didn't really speak very well, and I would just say, "You can correct me, you can help me," and people would actually help me with the language, like words or something that I didn't know, pronunciation.
Uh-huh.
So it was very nice, and I would just like my approach is to have fun. So I would just make fun of myself or, something that I didn't know how to
Okay.
say.
Alright.
So it was
Yeah.
just a fun experience and people would just laugh and we just understand each other. And many of them could speak French or English. So I could, we could come up with things.
Okay.
So yeah,
Sure, you always, like, have, like, an
yeah,
escape.
yeah.
Yeah. So wait, is your, second language, is it, Flemish or is it
French. Yeah,
French?
French.
French, okay. Alright, so, I mean, that's also very close,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
To
It helps. It
so,
helps for sure.
okay. You said, like, you did the photo, the photography,
Workshops.
workshops, thanks. But did you also had to find, like, a regular job in the beginning?
Nope, because I moved here, and 2 months later, I got an online job, which wasn't
Mm-hmm.
really planned. I just happened. I just saw something. I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. I'm just gonna try, and I got a job. And so I never really had to find a job here. And I started with the photography. Um, so
Uh-huh.
everything just I did leave for 5 or 6 months during summertime the next year, because I
Mm-hmm.
went to work as a photographer in a resort during the summer months.
Uh-huh.
Um, but yeah, then I decided to come back here, instead of keep traveling, to really start my online business, my consultancy, which is what I do today. And I'm actually happy that I did that, because that's when COVID arrived, and I was supposed to be like
Uh-huh.
somewhere in Asia or in Australia, and I actually was here, which made things easier because it's closer to the family, and so it was
Yeah.
uh, not too bad.
And do you visit often, your family?
Yes, I try to visit my mom 2 or 3 times a year, and she comes a couple of
Okay.
times a year to see me as well.
Okay.
She takes advantage that I live in the sun, and
Yeah, yeah. Oh, is your mom now, is she still in the north of
no,
Italy, or is
Belgium.
she in
Yeah,
Belgium?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
yeah, of course. Take
yeah,
advantage.
yeah.
Yes.
My parents got divorced a long time ago, so she's back in Belgium
Uh-huh.
for a while now. I don't go as often in Italy because I never really felt that connected with the country. I still have my friends from high school,
Sure.
so I do go once a year, maybe not that often, but I still go sometimes.
Yeah. To me, it still sounds often, once a year.
Yeah, it's been 2 years
I mean,
now,
it
so yeah, I
okay,
try.
yeah. So when you moved to, Spain, what do you really like?
Actually, quite a few things. The fact that, well, first of all, the sun, of course, the sun.
Uh-huh. Yes, the
The
sun,
sun
okay.
is here pretty much
But
every day.
okay, just question,
Yeah.
sorry, for interrupting. But is it, super hot, or is it just sunny, or is it, like, nice and warm, or is it like, "Oh my god, this is too hot?"
No, it's like all year round is sunny and warm and nice. So, for example, December, January, February, we still have about 15 degrees during the day,
Uh-huh,
13 to 15. And the night never goes less than 6, 7 degrees in general.
uh-huh,
So it's nice, it's sunny pretty much every day. It gets a bit too much between July and August, especially August.
it's hot.
But
Mhm,
honestly, because we are on the sea, like we're really like I live very close to the beach, and the city is really like on the beach, and it's a tiny city. Eventually, it's not that big. There is this kind of breeze all the time. So even
mhm.
in summer, even if you're in the city center in August at 2 p.m., you're not gonna really have that overwhelming heat that I actually used to have in Italy, because in Parma is like a bunker. It's like in the
Okay,
middle,
mhm.
like there's no air, and so it's
No
really
air, mhm.
heavy. While here is it's
Yeah,
actually kind of fresh hot, so you can survive the summer even if it's pretty hot. Yeah.
okay, that sounds nice. Alright, let's go back to the other question. What do you really like except the sun? We got
Yeah.
that.
So the sun, I really like that the lifestyle here is just so it's much slower than a lot of other countries. Just people just like
Mhm,
take it easy. There is this, this mindfulness to life, if you want,
mhm.
and you can live outside. Like we do everything outside, from the photo workshops to yoga to it doesn't matter if it's December or August. It's outside, and so you're outside all the time in nature with people. So it's very nice. And
Mhm.
yeah, those are the things that I really enjoy the most, probably.
And is there like a favorite food that you have in Spain?
Um, to have favorite food, I do love food in general. The ingredients are really good. I do really enjoy the fact that we have so much mangoes and avocados, and they're really good all year round.
Okay.
So that makes me happy.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's yeah. I mean, the food, because there's so much sun, everything is just good. So it's
Right.
it's nice.
Nice. And do you have like a favorite Spanish holiday?
That's a good question. I really enjoy. They have this No d'Octubre, which is in October,
Mm-hmm.
and they have like all of the historical and cultural sites are open to visit with guides and
Mm-hmm.
everything, and it's really really cool because you really get to explore parts of the cities and very old buildings, and you get to hear the whole story and what's behind it, which is something that you might not do during the year. And
Okay.
then in Valencia is like they do fireworks for pretty much everything, and
Okay.
it's and they're really amazing. They're the best fireworks in the world. And then we have this huge party with fireworks, which is amazing. So I think that's my favorite. There is this huge festival which is very famous all over the world, which is Fallas in March. I don't know if you heard of it. Um, it's I
Nope.
think it's the third biggest festival in the world or something like that,
Uh-huh. Okay.
which you love or you hate. I wouldn't say I love it because it's really noisy. It's like fireworks and firecrackers for 3 weeks straight, days and
Oh,
night.
okay.
It's too much for me.
Oh, I
Yeah.
think I heard of
Okay.
it.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's very
Uh-huh.
famous.
Yeah.
So I like it can be a lot of fun, but for me it's just too much, especially if you live in the city.
Right.
So I would say that the October one is it's really really nice, and I really enjoy when it's that time of the year.
And so do you try then to avoid the fires, especially if it's going on for 3 weeks and it's so loud? Do you try
Yeah,
to
yeah.
escape?
With my partner and my cat, we usually take off for a week. So the first 2 weeks is fine because it's
Uh-huh.
not as overwhelming. But then the actual festival during the last week is way too much. So usually we leave for that week. Um,
Okay, yeah, I would do the
yeah,
same. If I don't like it, then it's like, all right, take uh, take your bags and go for a
yeah.
little bit away. And is there anything that you miss? I mean, honestly, like, I don't even know if that question suits you because you lived so many different places and you always said like Italy, you didn't feel like you belong.
Yeah, I would say that I feel way more at home in Belgium than in Italy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I don't really miss much from Italy. Like a lot of people think that I will miss the food, which in some cases I do. But you can find I can cook, so and
You're
my mom
right,
does a lot
right.
of Italian dishes as well. So I don't really miss it that much. But I from Belgium I do miss a few things, especially French fries, which is actually Belgian fries, and chocolate, and Belgian beers, and Belgian cheese. So there are a few things I really, really, really like in Belgium, and yeah,
And is it hard to get though? Because it's not that far. I mean, the beer, okay, sure, if it's like from a local brewery, but like still, it's a lot of imported beers. Chocolate, I feel like Belgium chocolates, hello, we have them everywhere too.
yeah, yeah. I mean, you could find it, but you don't have all the
Uh-huh.
choice that you have. Like in Belgium, you have
Right.
a lot of local chocolatier, you know, and so you don't
Mm-hmm.
really have it here. So
Right.
it's nice when you go there, and it's just the experience of being there under the rain with your little beer. It's different.
Yes. Okay. Do you miss the rain though?
um Honestly, I what I actually miss is the change of seasons. It's like, when
Uh-huh.
winter comes and you start putting your big sweaters on and you're like hot tea
Yeah.
couch. Yeah, I don't really have this in Spain
Yeah.
because like it happens a few days of the year, but it's not cold enough. So when I go
Yeah.
to Belgium and we have 2 terrible weeks with just rain and cold, I'm actually happy because it's my time to just be home and be lazy with my big sweaters because I don't do it much in
Yeah.
Spain. Um,
Yeah. I miss the seasons too. It's funny because I'm like, I miss my clothes, they're just hanging in the wardrobe and I never get to wear
yeah,
them. It's like I want to wear all these things and I cannot do
it's
it
true.
because it's too hot. I mean, 99% of the time.
Yeah, when you live in the sun, it's wonderful, but sometimes you like that change, right? Especially when you have Like this year, I bought a new coat because I went to Belgium with my old one and I was freezing. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna buy a new one because this one is old. But I bought it when I got back to Valencia. I never wore it because it was never cold.
Right? Why do
Yeah.
you need it?
So
Yeah.
anyway, but yeah, and something that I love about Valencia though is that especially in June and September, because it's so hot, we have storms. And so you have
Mhm.
these, bigger storms. It doesn't rain for that long, but it just feels so good. For those 2 hours of very heavy rain, is just, I love it.
Yeah, I like the storms too. It's I don't know, it's so dramatic when it thunders,
Yeah.
especially like if you don't have like extreme weather
Yeah,
changes.
yeah, I love it. And it reminds me of Asia as well, where you have this huge, you know, during the rainy season, and it just, I don't know,
Right.
it's nice.
Yeah. And but is there anything that you don't get used to in Spain?
Yes, people are pretty loud. They,
Uh-huh.
they they're
Uh-huh.
louder than in a lot of other countries. From the way they speak, so they're very loud, like their voice. But also they're very noisy when you're outside. If you go to northern countries, usually people are not as loud.
Mhm.
That and the other thing is how I was surprised to discover that in Spain they don't have this attention for aesthetics, especially when it comes to homes. So a lot of time you will get
Ah.
into houses and homes, and they have this old look. They're not really modern. They're not very, the aesthetic is always kind of whatever. It's a bit random
Mhm.
compared to Belgium or Italy that we care a lot about how things look, especially at home and
Uh-huh.
everything. And here they don't really do it.
No?
No, no. I visited a lot of
Uh-huh.
apartments where I moved in where I live now,
Yeah.
and it was shocking. I was like, oh my goodness. Okay. Okay. Um,
So, but can you give an example?
so, for example, like a lot of them are very bare minimum, with a very
Mhm.
old kind of bed and the essential, the four piles of the bed. And, there's no like a nice something or a nice wardrobe or a nice kitchen. Like usually it's,
There's like no
yeah, it's
decorations.
usually it's old furniture. It's basically it's furniture just to say that you have furniture in the house, but the cheapest
Uh-huh.
possible kind of thing, right? And a lot
Okay.
of time it's old stuff that they just leave it like that. So there's no attention for renovations, the static, like updating the flat after a few years.
Mhm.
So it's been pretty hard to find a place that looked nice and felt nice, having to be in between this
Yeah.
weird thing. And then when you go up in prices, you can find better flats. But for
Sure.
the average flat, it was very weird to notice that. So
But so when you rent a place, then do you rent it
yeah,
furnished?
here everything is furnished, pretty much
Ah,
everything. Yeah,
okay. All right. So then it makes sense that you see the furniture.
yeah.
Okay. But did you ever like had to buy then your own things?
No, uh, I never had to buy anything when I was in Belgium. I did have that,
Mm-hmm.
but even the flats that were already with furniture, they looked pretty nice or decent. In
Okay.
Spain, usually almost everything comes furnished, and they don't really care about the look of it. So
Okay. So the bookshelf in the back and the sideboard on your side, this is like
yeah,
everything was there
yeah.
already?
So
Okay. The plant you brought
yeah, everything else
and the
I
books you
brought it.
brought.
Like the desk that I used to work, I bought it myself because I couldn't
Uh-huh.
work there. It's too high for me.
Yeah, sure.
Um, but apart from this, like everything else was already here. The one that we found, it's actually the nicest we found, so it was okay, because the last
Okay.
people bought a few things and they left it here, so it was more like IKEA style. So we were lucky. Um, but yeah, like a lot of the furniture, the bed, and everything, it's still from the
Okay.
60s. Yeah,
Okay.
you can see that, right?
But yeah, I mean, a little bit newer sometimes. I mean, I get it to like cherish the things you have and take good care of it, but I mean, maybe after 60 years. Especially you don't know how many people have lived through it, you
Yeah,
know.
that's another thing. But yeah, they don't really care. So
Right. But I mean, it's for the moving aspect, it's really nice that you don't have to like carry everything
yeah,
with you. I mean, because I am when I'm thinking of moving, I'm like, "Oh my God, I have to um get like either like 10 friends together or like hire a moving agency because like carry all the sofas, the bookshelves, all whatever, the beds, everything, you
yeah,
know. So that makes it a lot
yeah. It makes it
easier.
easier. That's true. But it depends on. I've noticed that it depends a lot on the countries, and also if you're in the
Yeah.
city or outside. In Italy, for example, it's absolutely normal to rent flats that are furnished. Furnished. You don't have to buy anything. It's rare that you have to. It's more common in Belgium. I think in Germany you don't even have a kitchen, which for me is like,
You have the sink, you have like the kitchen sink. That's it. And that's it.
to me it's crazy because like that doesn't exist in other countries because at least the kitchen is usually there. Yeah,
Mine,
but in
yeah.
Spain it's usually you have at least the few that I've seen, and I've seen about maybe 20 flats when I was moving around and looking for
Oh
things.
wow, yeah.
They were all furnished.
And you moved from Ireland, but did you also have a
Yep,
furnished flat
yep.
there? Okay, so you didn't have to get rid of your furniture or
No.
anything. Oh, so easy. Perfect.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, it's easy to travel around the world. You don't have to move anything, you just, that's
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so I don't have to like rent a shipping
Yeah, no,
container. That's nice. So when you moved there, did you had like some certain expectations?
not really, I guess. I was just like, it wasn't really planned that I moved here. So it was just,
Mhm.
I'm going to stay for a few months, learn the language, and, have fun, focus on my photography, just enjoy life. I enjoy the sun
Yeah.
because, after Ireland, that's all I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And then I just stayed. So that was the expectation, I guess. Just learn the language and enjoy life. And then I ended up
Yeah.
doing that for 5 years instead of 3 months.
And do you ever did you ever had a problem with the siesta?
It was difficult at the beginning to get used to it because most shops are closed between 2 and 5 in general. So I would
Mhm.
just go outside at 3 to buy
Yeah.
something, and then everything was closed. I was like, oh. So now I know, you get used to it. But in general, no, I never done siesta. Is not, I don't like to sleep during the day. No, apart from shops, and you get used to it, then everything else it's fine.
Yeah. But it's just like a lot of people I talked to who moved to countries where they have it, they said like they find it so annoying.
I don't know. I guess I don't really mind. I just readapt my
Mhm.
time around it. And also in Valencia is a big city, so you always have something open. Like it's not as restrictive as if you were in a small city or something. It was more difficult in small villages when I was traveling because
Yeah.
sometimes you had nothing. I was like, oh,
Yeah, yeah.
um,
Okay, you have to wait for like 3
yeah.
hours.
But in the city, usually it's it's fine.
So when you first got there, do you remember like the biggest differences besides the weather?
Um, like yeah, I noticed, especially coming from the north, how different the lifestyle was because in Ireland it's the weather is not great, so people live inside and they're always in pubs, they're always in shopping centers, so you can't really go outside for a walk. It's very rare that you can do it. You don't really have life outside of your something
Uh-huh.
closed. And in Belgium is you can do that more often. You have terraces outside, but not as often. So for me, really, just being outside all the time was the biggest. changing factor, because I wasn't, even in Italy, I wasn't used to it, because we do have winter times and you don't want to be outside because it's really cold, where I used to live. So it was like being outside all year round, all the time. It was very different to, what you used to do. And the fact that people are just, very, very cool, very, I don't know, that like, so like it's so social, like the settings are so social. You're always outside and chatting with people, and people at the supermarket are just so not like, they have here in Valencia they call you Sky or Little Star, or like, at the supermarket, and you're like, what?
Okay.
It's super weird. And people are
Okay.
just like, very friendly and very, hi Little Star, what do you need today? And you're like,
Okay.
cheese. I don't know, it's super weird. Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
so those were the big differences, especially from the north, where people are a bit more, disconnected, a bit more individualistic, if you want. They're not as friendly and sociable and loud. So yeah, those really the big differences that.
Okay. All right. I think I got all my questions.
Okay.
So, all right. Thank you for being on my podcast. That was really
Well,
nice.
thank you. You made me enjoy my experience even more talking about it. So thank you for
Awesome.
all the
Awesome.
questions.
That was Meg. And nice, helpful insights of life in Spain and what to expect there. So, hopefully, that was interesting for anyone who might want to move there. Well, it was definitely interesting for me. The next episode is out on Thursday, and if you don't want to wait that long, you can always binge the last episodes. If you want to get in touch with me, you can do so on Instagram or email. It's worldscollide123pod@gmail.com, and you can find all the info in the show notes as well. There is also a new podcast of mine. It's called Trips with Kids, and it's a travel podcast with kids. Not with kids. It's about traveling with kids. All right, and that was it. Until next week, I hope you tune in again. Until then, bye.